Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing today? I just took a little nap. I had a little break in between clients and I made good use of it. I feel like I have nap hair, but oh well, that's not what I'm here to talk about. Here's what I am here to talk about. In some recent conversations, I've been having the feeling, just getting the impression recently, that it's kind of a mystery for a number of people. Like, what actually happens? What actually goes down when they hire a love coach? And in particular, when they choose to work with me. Hi, you. So if you don't have a frame of reference for it, it's like if somebody said, yeah, I can turn you into a great car mechanic, but you knew you didn't know how to work on cars. How does a woman actually go from somebody who's had a series of really difficult and painful relationships, or has felt like despite her best efforts, they always crash and burn, or the men she's interested in don't pursue her, or the men that do pursue her are kind of trouble? Put a little emoji in the comments if you just recognized yourself in any of those things that I named. You don't have to be too specific, but I want to make sure that we're hitting the target here. Essentially, how do you go from being a woman who's had a history of frustration and confusion and disappointment, whether you've had one long-term relationship or a series of shorter, and become a woman where you feel soul satisfied in your love life, where you're with a man who's consistent with you, where he's reliable, where he's in your corner, where he loves you, where he cherishes you, where he adores you, and where when you hit blocks and road bumps, you have ways to get through them that bring you two closer together rather than create these ruptures and divide. Because that's usually the place that it gets kind of really painful, right? Something comes up in a relationship. Stuff does come up in a relationship. You don't know how to get through it. It gets messy. It gets sticky. So a functional, satisfying, heartful relationship means that you got to have ways to navigate through those places and pockets. So welcome everybody. If you're just popping on, please say hello. And for those of you who are new to me, my name is Lisa Rose. I'm a love and dating coach. I'm the founder of Deeper Love, Better Sex. And I help successful singles clear their blocks to love, get good at dating, and then find your match so that you no longer are telling the story of how love doesn't work out for you, and why is it that your sister got married and your cousin got married and your best friend got married. Not that marriage is the end all and be all, but it does signify a significant commitment, and it's likely something that you are wanting or desiring. So if you are joining, please say hello and let me know that you're here. So I'm going to try to unpack this and take some of the mystery out of what actually happens, because there's really like 3 or 4 things that I pretty much do with every client that build on each other. And they're like the building blocks and the foundation, so that at the end of the program, you really have what it takes, both internally. You have a relationship with yourself, and you have the skills and the tools and the communication that really works for you rather than works against you. So I'm just going to kind of name those. If you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the comments. So the first one is, you really develop a rock solid relationship with yourself. I'm going to see what you're saying here. Oh, cool. You develop a rock solid relationship with yourself, which means that if your guy is having an off day, or he doesn't text you right away, or there's some miscommunication, you don't go into this downward spiral and freak out and either take it out on him or become kind of a basket case yourself. You believe in yourself, you believe in your value, you believe in your worth, you speak to yourself in ways that are honoring rather than condemning, and you have a whole range of ways to have a really good relationship with yourself, with your body, with your mind. If you're thinking a bunch of thoughts that make you feel shitty, you stop it and you get off on another track and you do something else. You're not willing to just settle for kind of like, going down that road that doesn't feel really good, because that is the foundation. for where you set the bar for other people to treat you. So you get really in right relationship with yourself. And for some women that takes a while. It really kind of just depends on what your habit and your pattern is. I know over the last few years, as I have cleaned up my thinking and I have less tolerance for thinking thoughts that feel shitty and saying things about myself or to myself that don't leave me feeling good, who I'm attracting keeps also kind of, that bar keeps raising. So that's number one. And then the second one that's a big one is, most of us, unless you've had like a perfect relationship career, there's some stuff that's gone down that hasn't gone well. A relationship, hey, hi there, a relationship that hasn't ended well. You got a really big surprise. You got a really big shock. Somebody broke your heart. Somebody had an affair. Like, not every relationship, when it ends cleanly and perfectly. And sometimes goodbyes are really, really hard. And especially if you've had more than one of those, or if you've had one of those that was just really heart-wrenching. I certainly have had one of those that was really heart-wrenching. But I'll tell you that the last one that my last significant partnership that I uncoupled with, it was the cleanest and the smoothest and the nicest and the kindest. And that's for a whole variety of reasons, but one of them is because I was not carrying around this stockpile of old stuff. So the sadness and the sorrow and the pain that I was releasing was really relevant and related to that particular relationship. Here's what happens when there's this much bigger stockpile. It's really hard to open your heart. It's really hard to feel safe to trust somebody. You guys resonating with this? Feel free to tap the screen or let me know if you've ever put something in the comments, if you've ever had a breakup that just really broke your heart and you had trouble kind of finding your ground or imagining feeling safe enough to be really vulnerable, right? So there are ways that I help my clients really actually flush out the residual sorrow. And it's not just the feelings. Our feelings create our thoughts and our beliefs. So if you were really hurt by a man, if you had something go south, chances are you decided something about that. Like, men aren't trustable. Is this making sense? Put something in the comments, tap the screen, put a 1 in the comments if you've ever thought men aren't trustable. Men are going to hurt me. I can't really be trusted. I'm not really safe. It's not safe to open my heart. These are kind of the most common things that I hear. So imagine being in this push-pull because you want a relationship, and relationship requires opening. That's just the nature of the beast. But you've got like a fortress, you've got some kind of protective insulation around your heart. There's going to be some tension there. There's going to be some friction. And the way that that often plays out is you take a step closer and then you throw a wrench in it and fuck it up. Or you choose a man who's not really available to really actually, go on the love journey with you. So that's the second one. And then another just huge piece, and this is just because most of us don't get sent to relationship school. And as we watch our parents and our caretakers and our teachers and whoever else do relationship, it's not necessarily from a place of communication that builds connection. It's full of anger and blame and criticism and assigning blame and who's right and who's wrong. It's not about expressing feelings, needs, preferences, desires in ways that invite intimacy, that deepen connection, where you get to be really genuinely curious about who the other person is and what's driving their behaviors, and you get to invite somebody being really genuinely curious about you, because that's the nature of what intimacy is, right? So that kind of communication skill, it's like it makes a world of difference. And I have had so many clients say to me, wow, I never thought about saying it that way. I never thought about asking it that way. This was a huge game changer for me when I got really good with cleaning up my communication. With, instead of going to criticism and conclusion and assumption, I can just stay in curiosity. And if my guy is triggered, I can behave with him in a way that doesn't make it worse, that doesn't leave him feeling attacked. It's a really big one for men, or blamed or judged. So communication is huge. So those are really like the three pillars. And what we do in what order depends a little bit on who I'm working with, but I have a 3-month program where this is pretty much the process that we go through. And it's really the steps that take you from kind of being in this like land of confusion, what do I do differently, what am I doing wrong, how come it's not working out, to like, oh, I did what Lisa said and I got a much better result. Or I cleared out something in my body and my heart, and now I'm kind of getting my own intuitions and my own, how did a client put it the other day? She's like, you know what? I thought of something the other day. It's not something you told me, but it was literally like I got this download and I could feel that it came through because it wasn't coming through this filter of pain and anger and resentment that she had accumulated. We cleared that out. And that is really, I got to say, to witness that is really a beautiful thing when I see women kind of like learning these skills and then naturally kind of knowing what to do when the rubber hits the road. So I'm letting you know about all of this because you might be a really good candidate for my 3-month program. It's called Winning at the Dating Game. And it's really for you if you're just tired of doing what you've been doing and getting the same result. If you want a love life that you love, if you want to know how to turn a first date into a second date into a great relationship, if you can't quite figure out why the men you're attracting are not a fit for you, right? There's so many ways that it can be going haywire. And in 3 months, that turns around. So I actually have 2 spots that are about to come open. If you think you might be a fit for this, if you have some questions, we can pop on a call. But here's what I want to invite you to do, and I actually meant to say this at the beginning. As you've been listening to the replay and as you've been hearing me talk, you've probably been listening through a filter. When you hear this, I want to invite you to catch this through the filter of your heart, because your heart knows what it desires, and your heart is actually the one who can lead you on the trail to having that desire fulfilled. Whether it's working with me, whether it's working with somebody else, what your heart is more likely to do is to feel that kind of like, oh yeah, that sounds good, whereas your head is likely to start talking you into all the ways that it either won't work for you, why you can't afford it, why it's not the right time. So as you hear this, I want to invite you to listen through the filter of your heart and to trust your heart. Because giving up on love is one of the most painful things. It's one of the most painful decisions that we as a woman can make. We are wired for relationship. We're wired for our souls and our hearts and our bodies to be deeply seen and known and touched. And that's the playground of relationship. That's where it happens. So if you're curious enough and you're committed enough to be one of the women who doesn't just have her friend be the one that falls in love, but you're actually talking to your friend about the great dates you're having and how for the first time ever you're actually showing up differently in relationship in ways that really create the bond and the intimacy and the pleasure and the connection that you desire, just reach out to me. I'm here on Facebook. You can be a little hard in the comments and I'll be in touch. But you know what? Don't talk yourself out of it. Whatever you do, please do not talk yourself out of something as joyous and delightful as that. If you want to know more about me, you can find me at deeperlovebettersex.com. I also really recommend that you pop over to my Facebook group here. It's called Dating Wisdom for Successful Singles. Lots of great resources there. And if you are popping on to the replay, leave a comment so that I know that you're here. If you happen to have a question, if there's a particular edge that you are bumping up in your dating or relationship life or your lack of dating and relationship life, I'd be happy to address it. In the meantime, I wish you all a love-filled and beautiful day. Bye.